Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are things with everyone else? Um, all right. So Carmine is with me right now. Oh, the trailer just goes automatically sometimes. All right. So Carmine and I were going to discuss the trailer a bit for those that don't know what I'm talking about. The final House of the Dragon HOTD extra spicy trailer came out this week. How many days ago was it, Carmine? Like like
I think it was
five,
last week,
five,
possibly
five,
last week.
five, 5 days, something like that. All right. So what can we glean from this trailer? How much? What are they doing differently? All right. So the beginning, we got this scene with Damon walking in to King's Landing. Um, Nowhere in the source material does Damon make it to King's Landing until Rhaenyra's taking of the city, and that's not going to happen this season. This season is probably going to end on the Battle of the Gullet, making first season and second season kind of mirror each other. If you know about the ending of first season, a similar thing is probably going to happen at the end of the second season. Um, and so, what the hell is Damon doing here? It's probably a dream sequence. Almost certainly a dream sequence. Because look, he comes in, and then they do this shot of the Iron Throne, and then there was lightning and stuff, and that's pretty melodramatic. I mean, even though earlier it's pretty light out, it doesn't look like it's storming. When they get here, it's like lightning crashing. It's also a very similar scene to Daenerys's House of the Undying vision in Game of Thrones season 2 that they then revisit at the end of the series where it's ash instead of snow, or maybe it's both snow and ash. I mean, you actually hear crunching, so it's maybe snow, but I thought it was a clever bait and switch if it's ash, but um, nonetheless, I think this is in that vein. I think they're redoing that. Carmine, what are your thoughts? You agree? Disagree?
It's most likely a vision given to him, or maybe he's having a dream. Because
Okay.
in that same scene, I think you're going a little too fast, or not. Is that actually the next frame?
No, yeah, it was like do 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 do, and then there. See, this is the melodramatic thing with it with the lightning crash.
Within the frame, you have Daemon approaching the Iron Throne, and then you have someone walking in the field, possibly Alicent, and then you have Viserys' crown falling on the floor, and then a brief shot of Daenerys' dragon eggs. So this is most likely a vision, or Ryan Condal is fucking with the source material like he did
Oh,
last
you're
time.
saying yeah, because there's well, they like throw in the wall in the middle here. I see what you're saying. That that these weird spooky things might be from the same vision.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we
I
did
see
get
what you're saying. That
confirmation.
there's a lot of weird vision shit in here. And
Yeah,
this was what's kind of funny is that I mean, for book fans, right? One of Daenerys' House of the Undying vision is a little girl running away in a field, right? Um,
ooh,
and
good call,
so
good call.
yeah. So maybe maybe Ryan Condal is throwing some bones to us, throwing some bones to the fans.
Oh, I'm sorry. The after Cregan and Jace, then it's the young
Yeah,
woman
yeah, yeah.
who is
So
looks like
Cregan
Alicent, and then
Cregan
the
and
crown.
Jace. I mean, this is clearly ice, and they're at the wall. And this is. So you said that in an interview, they somebody said there's not going to be very much of Sarah Snow.
Uh, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, Sarah Hess is a writer for House of the Dragon,
right.
and for whatever the fuck reason, she said how Alice Rivers, when Damon enters Harrenhal, Alice Rivers will be fucking with him a little bit, somewhat in a magical sense, kind of, not
Yeah,
really, and making it to where he's like paranoid, he's having dreams, he can't eat, he can't sleep. And when he does sleep, he has like fucked up dreams. This could be some dream sequences right here from him.
yeah, yeah. And considering that like we considering book fans like know what happens, like Jace getting exposed to anything and him discovering anything is just like who cares? Like like
Oh,
this Jace can find all about like he can understand 100% the White Walker threat and it doesn't matter. Like it's just
so real quick, now you mentioned Jace, and we're paused here on Jace and Cregan. There was a rumor. I don't know if you remember this rumor. We
hmm,
briefly discussed it ages ago. There was a rumor that instead of Jace hooking up with Sarah Snow, that Jace was going to hook up with Cregan Stark. That was a
nice.
strong rumor that has been debunked. Dragon Demand spoke to his Dragon Demand spoke to his sources, and it was a joke from their end. So that rumor spiraled out of control. It's not really a rumor; it's
Yeah,
just a joke.
it's too bad. I mean, I mean, it would have been interesting. I mean, the Sarah Snow stuff, like it's all pointless. The Pact of Ice and Fire is pointless. It's it's Jace going north is ultimately pointless. It's in I've been talking in the source material too. So, they're trying to make something interesting with it. I like the Sarah Snow stuff. I thought it was going to be in there because HBO likes tits and dragons. So like where are the tits? And it's like here they might be taking it out because they've really made the black faction ultra pure, right? Like there's nothing wrong with Jace and there's nothing wrong with Luke. And so if they're cheating on their betrothed, it makes Jace look bad and he's not as pure. Like we need to have a lot of Jesus figures, crucified. So I kind of understand why they would take out Sarah Snow, but I don't know. To me, it also like makes Jace more interesting rather than just being a boring like
So, in regards to Sarah Snow, and we did record something on this. I do apologize. I was
yeah
busy. I'll put it out tomorrow on Patreon, and of course, you're going to upload something on your channel. In regards to Sarah Snow, once again, Sarah Hess, because she's an asshole. In the article that came out from Entertainment Weekly, said that we shouldn't expect too much from Sarah Snow. Whatever the fuck that means. It's kind of a dumb thing to say, in
yeah.
my opinion, but we'll see
I
what
mean yeah.
happens.
So it sounds like Sarah Snow has been cut and they're replacing it with him going north and experiencing spooky stuff. This is kind of the equivalent of the dagger stuff. It ultimately doesn't change the story, but it's some cool window dressing prophecy stuff. But it's all about the future anyway. Anyway, this is the most weird mystical stuff is all the Alicent stuff and her visions and stuff and we're not sure what any of this is because we know about the lake and but it's given her screen time because Alicent doesn't do anything in the source material. So at least have her have a bunch of maybe some premonitions of things going bad which motivates her to want peace. What's weird about this is they've completely, utterly switched Allison's character. Now all of a sudden she wants peace, while in the source material she's a warmonger. Um, though, then the crown. You think this is also part of the
It's
vision, right?
Viserys' crown that Rhaenyra now has. We know why it's falling to the ground in the Iron Throne room.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Right, that some she will take King's Landing and then fall or whatever. But it's also like Viserys drops the crown in the in season one, and he picks it up
True.
and he puts it on. That was supposedly improvised, but now they're taking it and making do with it. All right, this is which dragon is this?
I believe that might be Rhaenyra's dragon.
Oh,
We
okay,
just
okay.
maybe that part I couldn't deduce,
Yeah, they've
but
definitely removed the. So in the source material, Rhaenyra is recovering from her birth, and it takes many months. And they kind of removed that. She's completely mobile, up and about, flying around on dragons, doing her thing. So, which they needed to do. She's the star of the show. I mean, like she's the main character. Rhaenyra and Alicent and Daemon are the three main characters. Rhaenyra and Alicent don't do anything in the source material. At this point, Daemon is the one that actually has a lot of activity in the Riverlands. So I understand why they're doing it. You got to give Rhaenyra and Alicent something to do. Let's give them some visions. All right, so this is a King's Landing shot, a bread riot kind of thing. We know that there's supposedly a riot after Rook's Rest, so this might have something to do with it. Unless this is part of a vision, who knows? But that seems like that. Then we get what? More dragon. This looks like with the forest, it looks like before Rook's Rest. And then more Alicent time, or more Rhaenyra time, I mean. And then Aegon. We had this in the previous, but looking arrogant, becoming a villain. Rhaenyra, and then what's this right here? Am I missing something? Oh, picking up a sword. Maybe she's going to be more active or something. What's with the many swords? What do you think that's about?
I
Maybe.
have no idea. If we are definitely doing the twins scene where Eric tries to go assassinate Rhaenyra all sneaky like, so maybe that's Rhaenyra realizing that maybe she needs to have some of her own protection other than
Yeah,
Kingsguard
maybe this
around
is her.
her.
You're saying this is her like giving swords to Kingsguard. It's either
No,
that or it's giving
maybe she's picking her
swords.
own sword.
Yeah, it's either that or she's giving swords to like dragon riders or something. But you're right that it seems like she's giving places away. So it's either Kingsguard or, but here she's like, they're probably gonna have her like do some fighting eventually. Um, and then here, this was Damon saying to Rhaenys that they need to go to King's Landing, which is interesting because they don't do anything similar to that. So what? Why would they be going? Damon has to be in the Riverlands. Rhaenys, goes to Rook's Rest. Where is this period where they'd be going to King's Landing? I don't know. But here we get Aegon being impatient. This we know that's straight from the source material, that he gets very impatient after Blood and Cheese and gets rid of Otto and makes Kristen Cole hand. And so we kind of know what that's about, which is we get a lot of glares, and she's saying have restraint. And then this is leading up to the wars, but the battles before Rick's Rest. Are these the Lannisters, right? Um,
Yes, the same
Lannisters
person
don't
who.
Lannisters don't really come into the Riverlands until later for like fish feed, but I could see them like advancing them to the Riverlands earlier in order to make characters that we care about. Um,
You're gonna have a Game of Thrones spinoff without the Lannisters?
right. Like who cares if it's a bunch of houses that we've never heard of when you throw in the Lannisters there. So I could see them advancing stuff, like take elements of fish feed and make it earlier. And
Hmm.
so more dragons, more dragons. Auto. What was this one?
That might be the Golden Tooth. Maybe. It's somewhere. We will get some locations in the Westerlands finally, beyond
Okay,
Casterly Rock.
so maybe it's the Lannister army on their way to eventually getting to the Riverlands for fish feed, but next season kind of stuff. Um, Willing to die. Then we have the Valarian fleet. So there's two things with regards to the fleet. There's the cutting off of the gullet, which is a pretty boring event. Um, but then there's uh, the gullet battle at the end, which I think, considering that we see dragons at night as well, I think the gullet is going to be a nighttime scene. Um, and so I think this is all from the Battle of the Gullet, which I think will probably be the end of the season, right? So, and they're going to make it a nighttime battle. Um, Because here we see dragons at night. But is that
So I'm
Caraxes?
tempted. I think so.
Yeah, I mean Caraxes
I'm
wasn't
tempted
at the
to
gullet, but maybe.
I'm tempted to go back because we discussed this briefly on the Patreon podcast we did. I'm tempted to go back and
Yeah.
re-edit it. So you misunderstood me. I don't think the gullet is going to be in season 2. What I think is
Oh, really?
happening is, yeah, what I think is happening is that King's Landing is going to have some food shortages because the Valarian fleet keeps blockading everything.
Yeah.
So I think Rhaenys is going out there, burning up some ships that try to get through, or stopping ships that try to get through, and that's what you're seeing there with the Valarian fleet. And then that's when the Greens reach out to the Triarchy. Then we get the
Hmm.
Gullet.
Okay. I just don't know what the climax of the season is if it's not the gullet. Because it's
Yeah,
clearly not
them
Rook's
having
Rest, because we know that that the head of Melis like has a scene in King's Landing. Um, unless you think it's like, dreaded penultimate episode and then the finale is not as
uh,
intense. And all these
them
nighttime
doing eight
scenes of Daemon
episodes.
are him actually doing Riverlands battles.
Possibly them doing 8 episodes really fucked with what we thought it was going to end.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I'm trying to extend everything out. Um, yeah, this I thought was like this scene here is ridiculous because she's like, I'm you think of me as queen, and then he pauses, and then they take a cut to make it seem like the pause is longer, and it's like no, like you can see they go huh, and then he waits, and then they go there to make it look like he hasn't answered, when in fact he's um, probably answered, which is weird. Source material Damon is very dutiful, but yeah. Um, like we keep seeing Damon and I guess Damon is that Damon over King's Landing?
this
Maybe
here is Aegon
okay.
on
Aegon over King's
Sunfire over
Landing.
King's Landing.
Oh,
Because
okay,
remember
that's
in the
them
last
leaving
trailer,
for Rook's Rest then.
possibly because remember in the last trailer they gave him a modified version of the Conqueror's crown as like a helmet thing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and they're really leaning into Alicent sitting around worrying and doing nothing. Well, doing what they can with her. Doing what they can with her. Give her a scene of talking to Aemond. Um, but even Aemond doesn't do much until this season. Aemond shouldn't be doing very much. So unless maybe they're gonna have him. No, I don't know. I mean, the minute he leaves is when you have Rhaenyra taking King's Landing. So okay, this big more nighttime battle stuff. Alicent, Rhaenyra, Kristen Cole, the Night's Watch. Here you hear the Rook's Rest with him being hand of the king, and then this is like very brief shot of the twins fighting, which we knew we had before, and then that's is that Aemond in bed? Who is
Yes,
this?
sir. And some super sleuths online figured out that he's in bed with the madam from the last season. Remember the madam from episode
Oh,
9
so this is not him
with
because
Alice
well, that's
Rivers?
the thing is Alice Rivers. He leaves King's like there's the swap, essentially of Harrenhal. So like Damon takes Harrenhal, Aemond goes to take back Harrenhal, and King's Landing is taken. So Aemond doesn't meet Alice Rivers until after Rhaenyra has taken King's Landing. So the love affair or lust affair, or whatever is going on between Aemond and Alice Rivers, can't be this season. So then, what's Alice Rivers' role? Like something with Damon, I imagine. So you're saying this is him going to the whorehouse. So Aemond is sitting around not doing very much this season too.
We'll see. They
Yeah.
might they might be inventing this stuff for everyone to do. They have these people, hired. They're gonna give them shit
Yeah.
to do.
And we kind of know. Okay, so here we finally get
New characters.
some dragon seeds. This is you said this is Adam of Hall.
It's either Adam or Alan. Who does Abu Bakr Salim play?
Yeah, yeah. All dragon seeds look the same to you, eh? Um,
Stop. It's Alan of Hull.
so it's Alan. Okay. And then this is weird. I'm very there's there's a couple of things I'm very disappointed about, and one is I think they're just going to have Massaria do Blood and Cheese, which is crazy. Considering that like first season she was trying to protect children by stopping the fighting pits, and here she does Blood and Cheese. Because
So Massaria, I hope you agree with me. She is the probably the most fucking destroyed person. Because I know a lot of book fans love to say Dave and Dan hated Stannis. Ryan
yeah,
Condal had no idea what he's doing with Massaria because Massaria has the reputation in the books of being like one of the best spy masters ever,
yeah,
comparable to Bloodraven, who I think is
hmm
better. But they have no idea what they're doing with Massaria. She's just all over the place. She's gone for
no,
so many
yeah,
episodes. She's playing
yeah.
every side. It's
Her motivations are completely unclear. You know, like had she been in league with Otto, like maybe things would have made sense. But then we find out that at the end that Otto had no idea who she was, and you're like, oh, so who reported on the Air for a Day incident then? Like, like what when that little boy showed up, why did he do that, and like stuff like that where you're just yeah, they really, you're right, they dropped the ball on Massaria. They absolutely dropped the ball, and here they're just, it looks like they're going to have no ambiguity with Blood and Cheese, which is too bad because I think there's a huge um there's a lot of fun to have with like the ambiguity and the theorizing about Blood and Cheese, Laurie Strong, um, uh, Luther Largent, people like that. I wonder if Luther Largent is, if they're going to introduce him at all. I think he's a very important character to introduce, but we'll see if it happens. Um, and then here is this very briefly we get some like, there we go, some money. That's his Blood and Cheese kind of idea. Is this
So some people are saying that right there is Emma Aaron, which okay, and some people are saying that whoever that hand is, I think it's Damon. His fingers are that Matt Smith's fingers are that like sausagey,
mm,
and he does wear
yeah.
the ring on that finger. So maybe
I mean,
like
it'd be
there's gonna be
really
some
weird if they
vision.
like added in that Damon was secretly sleeping with Emma Aaron. Like that would change everything, But that's so here we have Gold Cloaks. This is the riot that they've added after the funerals, um, and then just Rook's Rest, Rook's Rest, Rook's Rest, Rook's Rest, Rook's Rest. Oh, and then here we go. This is Rainey's, but then you said that we get a little bit of, wasn't there a quick scene that I've missed of Reyna?
You did miss it, yes.
Yeah, isn't there a Reyna scene for a second where it looks like the rumor is that they're giving Reyna, like Nettle's plot to Reyna, that they're gonna have her take a dragon, which is the worst. Like
Go to
that's
152, around 152. You should
uh
we recorded something on that. You should
yeah, we
save
did.
that
We recorded something
conversation
on
for
this.
it.
But yeah, there it was. Oh, I had it. There
By the way, in my breakdown, I was incorrect. I thought the woman with the fan was Alice Rivers. It was not. It's some random character named Penny, and the actress's name is Kika Green.
Penny and her and Grote and
Copper Penny is the character's name.
great. Penny, like you couldn't pick you, I mean, you couldn't pick a not a major character from A Dance with Dragons for a name, like anything else. Like okay. Um so yeah, here she is. They're trying to give Reyna something to do. So it looks like she's going to claim a dragon. Now, it's going to be sad if they give her Nettles plot because Nettles is very, very interesting character in story. She's very interesting thematically. Carmine and I had a whole podcast where we talk about
You're
this.
gonna upload
And
the video tomorrow.
yeah, and it's just too bad. It's for but I do not want to see like nettle like cutting out nettles. You're just cutting out the most interesting thing in the entire Dance with the
We
Dragons. Like,
so to give hope to some people, we don't really know that yet. It could be Reyna getting her own dragon, and then
yeah,
Maybe Nettles season 3 gets another different dragon.
yeah,
So it's
yeah. I
possible.
mean, I like I said, you know, I understand it somewhat. They're like, oh, we can't have anything bad about Rhaenyra, so we're going to cut the whole like I hate bastards thing and I want to betray Damon thing. I don't know. Anyway, I think we got it all. That's all.
What you just said, are you implying that the showrunners that Ryan Condal is a black fan and not a green fan? And
Oh, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I don't think I ever denied that. um, which is weird because like the source material is like you're supposed to side with the blacks, but like it's very clear that the author sides with the greens, and yet but in the show it's just like it's very clear you're supposed to be a black supporter. Like, come on, like they're like Jason, Luke, and are completely without sin, and Rhaenyra is mostly without sin in the show. Um, I mean, you could say the worst thing she did was like what seduce Kristen Cole. Like, you know, that's about it. Which, you know, isn't really that bad. So where are we? Let's see here. Super chat from Curtis. I think Varys kills Tommen to make way for Aegon, and then a marriage alliance with the Myrcella. Also, Stannis would have even better claim. Thoughts? Um, I don't think that would be the case, and I'll tell you the Varys is specifically trying to weaken the Lannisters. And if it were just about putting Aegon on the throne and wanting the Lannisters as like an option, why weaken the Lannisters? Just kill Tommen and bring him in and do an alliance. But instead, you're talking about like fundamentally trying to destroy the Lannister, like House Lannister. Like, I don't think Varys has any intention of aligning himself with the Lannisters in any respect. I mean, let's also keep in mind that like the Lannisters are responsible for overthrowing Aerys and killing uh, uh, Rhaena and all sorts of horrible actions that Varys, if he is a Targaryen supporter or Valyrian supporter, would be against. I think that I truly believe that Dornish law must make an appearance and be important in the story more than just like um, Ariane's random queen making chapter. You know, like it has to be more. And then I think Myrcella would have uh, an important claim, you know, and it does just look like the future is Cersei teaming up with the Ironborn. There's a lot of stuff in the appendix. We have the evidence of the show. We have the visions of Aeron. So I mean, I just think the Lannisters teaming up with the Ironborn seems to make more sense. I don't know if Varys would. I mean, you're saying maybe an attempted marriage alliance. I mean, I don't know. I think there's other opportunities there. Also, like, you know, Myrcella's a child. You know, she would Aegon even want to marry her? So Stannis would have a better claim. I'm not sure why Varys would want Stannis to have a better claim. but he wouldn't really. Well, I guess you're on Council of 101 kind of bullshit, but you know, um, on if Stannis would come before Myrcella, um, but I don't think anybody, it's all about who has the power versus the claim. There's no one in story, like no one in story has ever been like legalistically been like this is the proper heir, and everybody being like we agree. Like it's like who's got the army. Like immediately it's who has the army. Um, does Sour Billy and Fever Dream inspire Ramsay? Should Ramsay become a cannibal? Are other evil characters named Damon? Um, I don't think Sour Billy is like Ramsay in any way, but I think the Sour Billy chapters of Fever Dream definitely inspired Ramsay. But I would say that Damon Julian is the Ramsay character. Sour Billy is more a Theon character, like deeply insecure and angry and dark, and you hate him. But at the same time, when you read Sour Billy, you like see the horrible aspects of yourself in him. Like, and this is the way you kind of read Theon. Like you read Theon and you're like, oh God, I hate this character because he reminds me of the worst aspects of myself. That's where I would see Sour Billy. I think that like definitely 100% George like reread Fever Dream before Dance with Dragons happened. There's so many elements of of Fever Dream that are in Dance with Dragons. From like the feeling of Ramsay and those chapters with Jane Poole and the beginning of Fever Dream with Sour Billy finding the buying the slave and bringing her to the party, to the descriptions of what debt is really weird, like comparing debt to wagers, which is something done in the early chapters of Fever Dream as well as the Arya chapters. The description of Volantis being very similar to the description of New Orleans. I mean, there's the river, like Tyrion going down a riverboat, like for I definitely think that like he and not to mention Sour Allen is a character in the story paying homage to Sour Billy. But I just think there's so many elements that show that George reread Fever Dream before Dance with Dragons, but I don't think Sour Billy inspires Ramsay. I don't know. Also, should he become a cannibal? I don't think that affects how. I mean, he's already pretty damn evil. I don't think you can make him even more evil. Um, and cannibalism, I just don't think will change much. I mean, he's already throwing them to his dogs, people to his dogs. And are there other cute evil characters named Damon? I just think Damon Julian in Fever Dream. I mean, the ones that we have in story, Damon Sand, Damon Blackfire, and Damon Targaryen aren't really that evil. They're at best conflicted mixed characters. I know from Damon Julian himself. Danny's House of the Dragons visions about the Wolf King is actually Jon Snow establishing guest right with the others to bring them south. It may not be Robb at all. Well, let's see about that. What's that? What's the one of the lines I remember is mute appeal. That brings it up. Okay. So Carmine, I have randomly in my head, I've had it for like a week. This horrible song.
I got another one for you.
Oh yeah. You know what song's been in my head?
Uh,
Scar by Papa Roach. I don't know why. I don't know why that's been in my head all week.
I don't think I know that one. I know
Tear
the usual
myself
Papa Roach one.
open. I sew myself shut. I care too much. Okay. Farther on, she came upon a feast of corpses, savagely slaughtered. The feasters lay strewn across overturned chairs and hacked trestle tables, a sprawl in pools of congealing blood. Some had lost limbs, even heads, severed hands, clutched bloody cups, wooden spoons, roast fowl, heels of bread. In a throne above them sat a dead man with the head of a wolf. He wore an iron crown and held a leg of lamb in one hand, as a king might hold a scepter. In his eyes followed Danny with mute appeal. Okay, so I see the similarities. What you're saying is that because John is a dead man, and he could have the head of a wolf because Melisandre saw this vision of like a man turning into a wolf, turning into a man again, all of this. And then the Iron Crown or something, claiming he has the best claim or something. However, I don't know if any of the rest really fits. Like, okay, Feast of Corpses, yeah, that could be anything. Okay, savagely slaughtered. Okay, fine. But then it's like, why overturn chairs and hacked trestle tables? Why congealing blood instead of frozen blood? Why clutching bloody cups and wooden spoons and roast fowl and heels of bread? I just maybe the eyes following Danny with mute appeal is more relevant considering Rob doesn't even know who Danny is. But it's you'd have to come up with better reasons on like why all of these things would relate to John versus Rob. As we kind of know that the heels of bread is the phrase didn't spend that much money on the red wedding, and Rob literally had an iron crown, and things like that. So, I see what you're saying, dead man with the head of a wolf, but the rest of it doesn't fit that well for me. I don't know. Okay. Will they do dream sequences? Game of Thrones rarely did it. It seems like they're going to do a whole bunch of dream sequences this season. It seems dream sequence. It just seems very clear to me in those in that we're getting dreams, because one, we're getting Emma Aaron, we're getting dragon eggs and flames, we're getting Daemon walking into a throne room. We have all of the Alicent stuff running through fields and weirdly by lakes and stuff. So I think that I think we're dream sequences all over the place this season. It is a dreamy time. Yeah, thoughts on rumor combining Nettles with Rhaena into one? Yeah, I've heard it. I somewhat believe it. I fear it. I think it's a horrible move. Yeah, Carmine and I have a podcast about this, but essentially, like, Nettles is super interesting, and she's super interesting, both in a plot sense and in a thematic sense, considering that she is a dark-skinned girl who clearly doesn't have the blood, who is able to succeed in this world, and as opposed to and is hated and targeted by a family of inherited wealth, who believe in like birthright and things like that. And so it's not only taking a really cool like plot element of the show, but it's taking of the source material, but it's taking like thematic, like really important thematic elements and tossing them out the window. So I really want Nettles in. I really want Nettles in the show. She's like the best character. She's the best character from the entire story, and it's too bad. Will Cregan be less useless in the show? I think probably, because I think a first read or a quick read of the source material makes people believe that no, that the Starks really were loyal to Rhaenyra, and they're honorable, and they're and uh when they came in at the end, and the Winter Wolves were like this huge important part, and Cregan coming in at the Hour of the Wolf is like really really important, and brings Jace's Pact of Ice and Fire, even the name Pact of Ice and Fire, like it all seems like it should be really important. um and granted, like, a criticism of my video on how the Starks suck during the Dance with the Dragons um, timeline of Dishonor is like, yeah, like Preston, yes, the text does say that, but it's only because our author is slapping this thing together. Like, and what he wanted to communicate um, was something else than what the actual text says, which is a fair criticism. That what he wanted to communicate was one thing, but what the text actually said was another. When you actually, like, George R. R. Martin isn't sitting there doing timelines um, and analyzing the text as closely as we are. So, and it's a fair criticism. So um, I think on a first reading or a cursory reading of Fire and Blood, yeah, Cregan seems important, and is a true ally of Rhaenyra. So I think there's a good chance Cregan will be less useless. Um, you think we'll see more Daemon marital abuse in season 2? I think maybe less physical, but I think maybe more mental. I mean, they really pushed like that scene where they were arguing, but I think they might have more mental abuse. I mean, we know we have to get to a point where there is a Rhaenyra. We know it's all going to fall apart at some point for the Blacks, right? So you do kind of need a Rhaenyra Daemon split, and the source material's reasons for the split, which I admit, like, it's from Gildane, and you're not sure what's true and things like that, but the reason that everything falls apart in the book is Rhaenyra goes crazy because she hates bastards, and uh, and and she gets super jealous of Daemon's perceived infidelity with Nettles. And if you're reading Fire and Blood, you should say, wait a minute, why would Rhaenyra hate bastards if supposedly her children are bastards? Oh, her children aren't bastards. Like like you're supposed to hit that point and go, oh, Rhaenyra's children were never bastards. But the show has made them bastards unambiguously. So she can't ever get to that point. Like, if she all of a sudden were like, I hate bastards, nothing would make sense. The whole, like, the average viewer would be like, what? How? What? Like, it only makes, like, you can only have those plot points in an ambiguous text. So we've removed Rhaenyra. The falling apart of Team Black can't be Rhaenyra's hatred of bastards. So we need something else. We need to have, marital troubles seeded from the beginning with Daemon and Rhaenyra. So I think we're gonna see some psychological weirdness, Daemon being weird, and then we'll be on Rhaenyra's side. And when things fall apart, it'll seem realistic, but I don't think they're gonna. I mean, maybe I'm gonna be wrong, but I don't think they're gonna demonize Rhaenyra too much. Um, maybe once Joffrey dies and she's lost all three of her kids, like, it's going to be crazy, but we'll see. I mean, the main criticism of Game of Thrones was Daenerys went crazy too fast, right? Isn't that like number one criticism? Like Carmine, would you say that's the number one criticism people have of season 8? Daenerys went crazy too fast.
Yeah, that's one of the many, but yeah, it made no sense. There was no good lead up to it.
Yeah. So if Rhaenyra goes crazy in the show, we need it to be slow and eventual and realistic and stuff. So, have you considered ending the fan fiction like the movie Rat Race, where all the different plot lines converge at a Smash Mouth concert? Is that how it ends? Oh God.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen Rat Race, one of my favorite movies back in the day. Yeah, that's how it ends.
huh.
You didn't know that?
I've never seen Rat Race.
It's a great film.
Wait. Is is Rat Race the one they delayed because of 9/11, or am I confusing with something else? No, I think it, am I? 2001. When was it released? No, it was released before 9/11. Okay, never mind. Huh. I had no idea. Anyway, they end up at a Smash Mouth concert. Well, Smash Mouth is yeah, the guy's dead now, but I've thought a bit about the ending, and I do think that most of the plot lines will converge at the God's Eye all at the same time, and that's kind of where everything is going. But I have some really fun ideas for where it would go, but that I've only told to Carmine. Carmine's the only person that's like I've told like where I'd really like to do like a Dream of Spring, but like if we ever got to that, that would be in like so many years that it's hard to even think about. Like let's just focus on the Winds of Winter and getting to the halfway point of the Winds of Winter, which I think we can get to the halfway point in a year. Um, so it'll, yeah. Olivia Cook, good actress. Got to give her something. It's true. Not hard on the eyes either. So um, they got finally started Three Body Problem. Hooked. So good. It was pretty good. Um, mm, 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 mm. Okay, let's see. Kendrick or Drake? Just kidding, I don't care. What would your rap name be? Bonus points for giving Carmine a rap name. Um, is anybody pro Drake? Like, there's no one on Team Drake, right? Carmine, you're younger. Do you know anything about this?
No, we briefly discussed this last
Yeah,
week. I
yeah.
had the
No,
white
right.
delegation come out and
But
explain it to me.
no one can possibly be on on Team Drake. I mean, come on. Like, no
I
one likes
sent you,
Drake.
by the way, since we're talking about songs. So this is
Yeah,
the thing I
yeah.
was telling you about before we started. I
Yeah.
wanted, don't play it on your
When
phone.
am I gonna have time to listen to that?
Oh, trust me, it's 30 seconds. Play it right now for the audience.
Am I gonna
This is
get
something.
copyrighted? What is this?
No, you're not gonna get fucking copyrighted. I promise you. It's so stupid. It's something someone made.
Oh my lord, this is ridiculous.
This is AI. Welcome to it.
What?
That's a good line. Bards without string. That's a good line. So basically, it's this
Wow.
AI website. You tell it what you want to make a song about,
So
and
that's an
then
AI created jam.
that is an AI created jam. The prompt was both of our names talking about Game of Thrones and pop culture, and it just made a song on it.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. Um, Okay. Alora Targaryen accidentally killed Aelor in a grotesque mishap. Drives me nuts. I just want to know what happened. Any ideas? Um, there's a few of these like things where there's some really cool story and it's kind of really important, but we never find out. And like in Fire and Blood, there's um the crown's money is taken at the beginning of the war, and they give a quarter of it to the High Towers, and most of that is stolen by Miles Hightower, and it's like, and George writes, but that's another story on what happened to that money, and you're like, what happened to all the money? Like, no, nope, we never find out. We never find out. Um, but Alora Targaryen, um, yeah, this is. Oh yeah, this is the rat, the hawk, and the pig kind of thing. Um, yeah, Aelor, Aelora was married to her twin brother Prince Aelor when their father Rhaegal died in 2015 AC. Aelor was named Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the throne by his uncle, King Aerys Targaryen, the first King Aerys Targaryen. Sadly, in 217, Aelora accidentally caused Aelor's death in a grotesque mishap, which left her mad with grief. Following Aelor's death, King Aerys recognized Alora as his new heir to the throne. But sometimes later, three men known as the Rat, the Hawk, and the Pig attacked Alora at a masked ball, and she committed suicide soon after. Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. Now, this is the um, time of Bloodraven, so all of this kind of these mishaps are probably Bloodraven's doing um, to eventually put Aegon the Unlikely on the throne. Um, there's just too many weird things going on because we know that Bloodraven like had Aerys's ear, and um, Aerys like wanted to be like chose not to have any kids and things like this, and you're like, had to be Bloodraven's doing or something. But yeah, yeah, um, just too many weird coincidences with that entire line. Like no one wanting Maegor on the throne, Aryan Bright Flames madness, Daron the drunkard, Aemon going to the Citadel. It's just a lot. So, um, okay. I mean, tell you what, I think that'll probably we'll probably bring up what that mishap was in the fanfic at some point, just to satisfy you. But yeah, it's kind of a nuts that they just or just like grotesque mishap. Really, never came up. But it's probably Bloodraven's doing. Time traveling Bran sent Jojen's death dream so he could eat him. That's possibly true. I mean, it depends um, if it's really important that Bran eats this kid. Because I think the more important thing is Mira. I truly believe that like Mira being a climber is the reason that she was brought, and Jojen is just the person that's bringing Mira, because Mira is the relevant one, just like Hodor is the relevant one. Like Hodor is the one that's holding the door. Mira is the one that's the climber. I do think that's the point of time traveling Bran. Now, Does Jojen provide the food? Maybe that's pretty dark. And even though, we're obviously supposed to think that with Jojen paste, like we're supposed to think that and suspect it, that he was cannibalized. Um, but I do wonder about the mechanics of that. Like, does cannibalism actually do anything, or is there like a taboo thing? Because like remember with at the beginning of A Dance with Dragons, we have this entire thing about the rules given to Varamir Sixskins. But Varamir Sixskins breaks the rules, and he becomes the most powerful telepath that we know in the story, other than Bran. Don't seize humans' minds. Don't do cannibalism. Like, don't he's got all of these taboos and he breaks them and he becomes really powerful. So there is a theory that like the breaking of taboos, each thing is like a taboo is like a regular mental barrier that you do to yourself. We've all been walking down the street and there's a ladder and it's more convenient to go into the ladder, but we don't do it. Why did we limit ourselves because of some weird taboo, right? And so some people have theorized that the whole thing with like telepathic powers and what you're able to do is just like taking the taboos and dropping them. The more taboos to drop, the more you realize that anything is possible. And so that, if whether or not Jojen was actually cannibalized, like Bran feeling he cannibalized him all of a sudden is like, wow, you've eaten someone. You're willing to do anything and everything to make this happen. And so, the reason to kill Jojen is not actually that his blood or his brains have any like special power to it, but that like Bran going so far to do that action now believes anything's possible. Now that he's killed Jojen, he's capable of anything and can do anything, And so both like telepathically he's unchained, but also like morally speaking, he's unchained. He can literally do anything now. Because once you cannibalize your friend, like what are you unwilling to do at this point, right? Anyway, so I think the theory, I like the taboo theory. I don't know if George was thinking about it, but I think it makes a better story. The taboo aspect, like the breakings of taboos. When did Targies start to be fat, and when did they start to become fit again? Aegon the Unworthy was an absolute unit. Trying to look at the other than Viserys and Aegon the Unworthy, I don't know if anybody else is fat. I mean, Rhaenyra is supposedly has her baby weight still on her, but and so she's supposedly big, but I don't know. I mean, that's only 3 Targaryens out of the entire thing, out of the entire story. That had a weight problem. Like Daron the Drunkard didn't, even like. So I don't know. I think it's just that we got like two guys that were a little different, and maybe that they were. Maybe they were poisoned the whole time. Preston, can you dial up your mic or dial down Carmine's? It's just like where my mic is. Like, so, if it's in front of me, then you can't see me, but if it's, behind and stuff. Anyway. But yeah. Okay. Carmine, what was the thing that you wanted to talk about as well? Earlier you mentioned that you wanted to talk about something.
What specifically?
You said you had something for me that you wanted. Was it where you already sent it to me? Was that the that?
I sent it to you. Yeah, it was
Oh, I
that
thought there was
fucking
something
AI.
else.
No, it was that stupid AI song thing. I fucking love it. I it's getting so good. Just for funsies.
Dare on the good had a belly that jiggled. Okay, okay. Um, wouldn't time traveling Brand undo his mate as soon as his tapped into the werewood if it was unnecessary? Um, well, here's the thing. For we know that Jojen needs to die or go missing. Um, because if Mira is if Mira's function is to be the climber, and keep in mind that this is my whole logic on the whole thing. Okay, we kind of know that Hodor is there to hold the door, and so time traveling Bran has had this entire has clearly manipulated time to produce Hodor, just so Hodor can like bring Bran north and like hold the door for him. Okay, so if Hodor has a function in the time travel, what's the function of Mira? Why is she along? You know, like rather unnecessarily. Because like, what has Mira done? She's caught some fish. You know, like what has Mira done? She put a net on Sam. Like, were any of these things like necessary? Were any of these things that Jojen or Summer couldn't have done? Couldn't Summer have caught a few more rabbits? Yes. You know, um, did Sam need a net thrown on him? Like what has Mira done for the story? And or Bran? Like why would time traveling Bran want Mira along? And the best explanation I have is that Mira is a really fucking good climber. And you know, the door, the back door that we saw in the show is down a sinkhole. And so, you know, I think that Mira needs to climb out of that sinkhole somehow and, you know, maybe pull Bran up. That's my guess. You know, that's what I have to go on. You know, obviously my logic could be off. It's not much to go on. But if Mira is there to climb out of that sinkhole, she's not climbing out of that sinkhole with Jojen. So Jojen needs to die or needs to go missing. Jojen needs to be not in the picture. Now, does Jojen need to be eaten? I don't know if Jojen needs to be eaten. We don't have any proof that Jojen was eaten. We just have this like werewood paste. We're obviously as readers we're supposed to suspect that he was eaten, but that just might be, you know, George R. R. Martin being creepy. George R. R. Martin definitely wants us to think that Jojen was eaten. That is 100%, considering that like it parallels Arya at the House of the Undying thinking that she's eating people. So maybe Jojen's was eaten, maybe Jojen's just missing. It doesn't really matter. But he needs to not be in the picture anymore because Mira's not climbing out of that hole with Jojen without Jojen. Um, Josh blamed the Starks for Robert's neglect. He never mentioned the cat's paw because he was embarrassed he hired a shit assassin and would have bragged otherwise. Um, does Robert blame the Starks for Robert's neglect? I don't know if Joff has ever brought up his father. I mean, and how he raised him. Other people have brought it up, but I don't know if Carmine, do you know what I'm talking about? Has Joff ever brought up like or been critical of Robert's raising of him?
I don't recall.
All right, if I'm gonna find this, it's gonna be in what? A Sansa. So we probably have. He'd probably say my father. 5 results. um. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, Ryan, try to clarify this one. I'm not sure what you're saying here. So, um, let's, um, oh, so conspiracies are not possible. Do you think they were more possible in the past when there was less technology and less access to information? Um, so what Aldo is asking me about is, so a lot of people like, label me the a Song of Ice and Fire conspiracy theorist, which is, it's more in the
No.
sense, but of course it's rather easy to have a conspiracy theory in A Song of Ice and Fire because there's only one person that really comes up with the conspiracy in Ice and Fire, and that's George R. R. Martin. And he just needs to put it in the story. That's it. But in the real world, conspiracies are very difficult, um, because there's the larger the conspiracy, the more incentive there is to break it and somebody to report the secret. So, and government conspiracies are even less likely for a number of reasons. One, that there's whistleblower kind of stuff and all sorts of incentive to come out. I mean, media fame, stuff like that. Um, so, and people generally choose government service because they have a belief in a certain, uh, um, they have belief in public service. So they're actually like, why in a field that attracts people that worry about public service and the public good would you be more apt to find a bunch of weird conspirators? But um, so I tend not to buy into any conspiracy theories about aliens or JFK assassinations or anything like that. Um, there's now, is it more possible in the past when there was less technology, less access to information? I mean, it's not that conspiracies can't happen, but they have to be small, and they have to be, um, you know, really, like I say, really tight knit. Um, I'm just wondering about technology. If technology makes things easier or worse to be I suppose you're like to without the information age. If you find something, who are you going to tell? How are you going to get the information out and things like that? Um, I mean, maybe it was easier to have a conspiracy in the past because it's harder for people to like be the town crier on it. Um, maybe, I guess that might be the case. I mean, it's funny that there's so many more conspiracies today that, um, but and yet, maybe technology would make it harder for conspiracies to exist because people would just be able to violate the conspiracy so easily. Maybe it's harder to break back then if you're just, who are you going to tell? Um, do you agree there is some fuckery going on? It's pretty broad. Pretty broad. What's fuckery? What kind of fuckery? Um, U.S. government does coups and stuff though. Um, I'm trying to think like, the U.S. government used to do coups and stuff. We don't do coups anymore. But I'm trying to think of if that counts as a conspiracy, because you're just essentially like paying some dudes to do something, right? You're not like creating like a secret group and then like, obviously there's like clandestine operations, but that's not really a conspiracy. A conspiracy, like there's information that's secret and top secret SCI and stuff like that. But I don't know if that's really like people conspiring to and then holding on to this secret for a long time. Like when they do these coups, like the information comes out right after, right? Um, fuckery is crockery that you have sex with. I see. I see. I see. Is most of the JFK stuff still classified though? That's a little weird. Um, I would say that there's a lot of really weird, dumb reasons that stuff is classified, and you don't like you think it's because this information is juicy, and stuff gets classified because like somebody doesn't want to look incompetent, somebody doesn't want to lose their job, someone doesn't want to make the call to unclassify it. This is well known that there's a huge like problem with overclassification in the government and the bureaucracy. Like some people just don't want oversight, so they like classify stuff so that fewer people will see it. There's a lot of reasons that stuff is classified, and like most of them are not good. Like I will tell you that 99% of the stuff that's classified, if not more, should not be classified. It's just like out there in the public domain. So why is it even like classified? But it is. But so there's a lot of bad reasons for things to be classified. Why is there no press in A Song of Ice and Fire? Because printer. When did newspapers start? The oldest direct handwritten news sheet circulated in Venice in 1566. Hello, Mira. Hello, Mira. How are you?
Hello, Preston. I'm all right. How are you?
Good, good, good. What's been happening?
Uh, well, the trailer was pretty cool. I just watched that a couple days ago. I heard you guys talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. Any big insights on things that you're looking forward to in the next season?
So one thing that really stood out that I noticed was Aemond referring to Alicent as Alicent and not like Mother or the Queen or something. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
curious to
Does he
see where
call
that
his mom Alicent?
he refers to her as Alicent. I don't think he said that to her face, but I was like,
Oh,
oh
because when he's
damn.
talking to Kristen Cole or something like
Hmm.
that.
Um,
Huh. That is
yeah.
really weird. Um, that he doesn't say my mother.
Hmm.
Huh. I wonder if the writer of that scene just forgot, or if it's like they're clearly like trying to establish that he has like that distance with his mother, that he's going to call her Alicent.
Yeah,
Um,
because they've been very deliberate with names like throughout season one. Like Alicent referring to Rhaenyra by her first name as opposed to like stepdaughter, or like in episode nine, Alicent calls Rhaenys cousin, but then when Rhaenys addresses her, she says Alicent Hightower, and it's very pointed.
hmm.
Um, so I don't think it's some. I mean, it might have been like an anomaly for the trailer, but I think it might point to like a fraying of their relationship or like his respect towards his mother.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Huh. It's funny because so I have a cousin, and she's always referred to her mother by her and her father by their names. Um, which we always thought was funny but weird. But like, um, yeah, yeah, that's really strange. It's really strange, huh? And yeah, it might just be for the trailer, and they have a different scene because they're just like, we got to make it sure that the audience knows who he's talking about. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no press. It's weird. Yeah, no press in Westeros. I guess because of no printer. But huh, I guess there was probably some people say that there were that the ancient Romans actually had newspapers of and like circulations of daily doings. And I suppose there
Hmm.
must be like town criers and things like that. Um, didn't we see one in? Wasn't there a crier in Game of Thrones at some point? Like the fat guy? Wasn't there like a fat guy doing some like event crying in Game of Thrones?
Oh, it's been so long. I've deleted most of Game of Thrones from my head.
Yeah, I know. But I even want to say that like I I when I was in Dubrovnik, like like they like told me, oh, those stairs over there were used in this scene, which with a town crier or something screaming something about events. But yeah, it's interesting that we don't see any of that. Like we should see like some sort of the only thing that comes up in my mind is there's a insane person um in Dunkin' Egg that's like screaming how Bloodraven sucks, and everyone's like, oh geez, steer clear of that dude. Um,
Yeah, and Stannis has to like go out of his way to circulate his letter about Joffrey. That he
yeah,
sends Davos out with like barrels of letters. That's like a big production.
maybe there are more conspiracy theories in the past, but none knew about them due to having not having mass social media. I will tell you this: like when I was young, there were these things called chick notes. They're still I think they're still produced, but they're these horribly racist, uh, um, horribly racist like religious things that you'd see like littered around a park, like a grocery store parking lot or something that someone would hope to that hopes that they'd pick up. And like there's a very famous one that's against Dungeons and Dragons. There's an anti-Catholic one, an anti-Muslim one, stuff like that. And I think when I was young, also like some kid like tried to give me an anti-evolution one when I was young. But um, you'll see the inside. It's like a comic book, but it would be this would be like the the spread of conspiracy theories. I remember once being in a library when I was a teenager, and some dude being like, "Dude, you want the latest information on HIV?" And he hands me this like sheet of paper that's like Xeroxed type thing about seriously, it's like the wavelength of light, and if you and the wavelength of light like giving people AIDS, and if you like divide some numbers, you get the coordinates of the people that are in charge, like that have like caused it all, and those coordinates happen to be like on the globe, like where Israel is, and like it was, but like this dude had to like actually go around libraries handing out like sheets of paper to people to spread a conspiracy theory rather than just going online and like posting something. Um, so yeah.
Oh, I have a conspiracy theory for you because I heard you talking about Aelor and Aelora earlier.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So
so this
how did he
was
die?
oh well, so this is more about the larger scheming because I know a lot of people kind of assume it's Bloodraven, and it does make sense for Bloodraven to be involved.
Hmm.
But I was trying to do a breakdown of the Great Council of 233, and there's something really odd that happens because Aerys named Rhaegal and then Rhaegal's two kids, Aelor and then Aelora, his heirs,
Yeah.
but then Maekar. But Rhaegal had a third child, Daenora,
Denora. Yeah.
who married Aerion.
Yes.
So it's and George, I think he sort of sidestepped this in an interview, and it kind of makes sense. It would be like if Jaehaerys named Balon his heir, but Viserys was married to Rhaenys, so it's like, well, Rhaenys would inherit after. But at the Great Council of 233, Daeron had a daughter who was considered and then
Yes.
discounted.
Yes.
Aerion
Vela, I
was
think.
already
Yeah.
dead, but yeah. But so Aegon had an older sister, Daella, and then there was Rhaegal's daughter, Daenora, and
Hmm.
neither of them are mentioned in that discussion of the Great Council of 233.
Right. They weren't put forward as candidates for
Um,
some reason, but somebody put forward Vela. Like why not? Like
yeah,
yeah, going on. And um the in-story explanation is, well, they were around, but no one put their names forward. But like, why is it's more that, like, why is Vela mentioned and not the other women? And that's probably because, even though Vela is said to be simple-minded, I think one of his ideas was probably like that Maegor and Vela would pair off and they would have a child, and that would be a problem, as a possible person out there to go against, um, Danny on the throne, um, and so that it's not that, like, these other women were excluded, um, for any reason other than the fact that they're women. But Vela is only mentioned because Vela is going to be significant because she was going to be married to Maegor. That'd be my guess.
yeah, and I kind of like the theories that account for like the magical, because there is the bloodline aspect, but I think there may have been like a secret shadow dance, like assuming Daenora was still alive after
Mm.
Aerion died, that she would be championing her son, so that you have kind of like a Rhaenys and Rhaenyra between Daella and Daenora. And so a couple friends of mine and I, we all landed on the idea that Maegor actually went off to the Citadel and became Marwyn, but that's a whole other thing. Um,
I'm trying to think, like, because it's 233. He's an infant, so he'd be like. I mean, it's so weird because I recently got and this was in somebody recently, for one of the submissions for the Jamie story, mentioned, because I had in there a throwaway line about Maegor the Cruel, and they're like, hey, this is a good place to put in, like, Maegor Targaryen and, like, what happened to him. Um, and so I'm maybe trying to fit in, like, at least a reference to Maegor, but, like, Maegor Targaryen disappearing from the story and Vela Targaryen disappearing from the story is really weird because it's just no one talks about them. Like, where are they? Um, I understand that people have the bright flame theory, which is just that somehow they married in with the Blackfire line, and they that Aegon, that young Griff is both bright flame and Blackfire. Um, we have no evidence of this, but it's just, well, we've got these characters. I feel like they need to be used, right? So, like, what happened to Magar and Vela? Who knows? George just, puts in characters and then forgets about them. So who knows?
yeah.
Um,
Well, some of this was specifically because Maester Aemon, when he's with Sam and they're on their way to Old Town,
mm,
he wonders if he'll hear his sister singing to her children.
yeah,
And so the thought is that if Daella married a Hightower,
Mm.
that she would have gone to Old Town, and if Daella and Daenora were on the same side of this shadow dance of like, you know, them trying to get their side put on the throne, that
Mm.
then you have Daenora and her son in Old Town, and Maegor would be about what, 67 at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I mean, like, you know, there's not a ton of evidence, but I was like, huh,
Yeah, I mean, it's it's interesting that the fandom is very caught up on the Blackfires when the the situation with Magor is introduced much earlier in the story. Because I think that's introduced by more like G.R. Mormont way back in the first John chapter of A Clash of Kings, which was probably written like near the, you know, when a Game of Thrones came out. Like it's he, you know, the succession crisis that he introduces, that there might be other Targaryen lines, is introduced through kind of like that era, like Aryan Bright Flame, stuff like that. And the excuse given for Arian's child being overlooked is ridiculous because it's just like, oh, no one would want to put Maegor on the throne because he might be crazy like his dad. And you're like, but Daenerys's dad is crazy. Like what like Daenerys is like, it's the exact same argument for Daenerys. Like why would you introduce that if not, you know? So, but everyone focuses on Blackfires, and not so much on Maegor. Um, but it is really weird that he's not mentioned. Like why during Robert's Rebellion, if he's alive, wouldn't Aerys be like, hey, you know, help me out? Like, what? Why wouldn't Rhaegar seek him out, want to talk to him, all sorts of things? Like, um, why wouldn't Aemond, you know, talk about, when they talk about last dragons and things like that? Why wouldn't they talk about like Maegor and his line, you know? But yeah, there's no real good answers.
yeah. I hope George eventually does give us one because he seemed to have an idea at least about what happened to Daenora because, or yeah, because that
Mm,
would be the other thing that would make sense is like if she's alive and and her son has a superior claim to Aegon's because you know Aerion was Aegon's older brother, why wouldn't she be gunning to be the queen regent? You know, if
yeah,
she isn't gonna, you know, why isn't she doing Arrhenius? Well, and I mean, you know, she may have, and it's just kind of glossed over in the world book, but
yeah,
um, yeah, but I think because he did say that like there's a reason that Ares the First didn't name her heir after Aelora, that he went with Maekar instead. So I think George has an idea. It's just whether or not we'll, you know, see it.
yeah. Will Bonifer Hasty rid Harrenhal of curses, if there are any at all? Could Alice Rivers, Danelle Lawson, and Sheila Went be one and the same? Um, be one and the same because they. Uh, okay, will Bonifer Hasty rid Harrenhal of curses? Um, my guess is that Bonifer Hasty is only there to hand over Harrenhal to Aegon. House Hasty were, I mean, if you want to go for it, House Hasty was a Blackfire supporter, but even ignoring the Blackfire supporter thing, we've introduced Hasty as a guy who's in love with Aerys's wife. So like having him like care about Rhaegar or the grandson or whatever, would make him, you know, loyal to the Targaryen cause. We've had that kind of introduction, so we kind of feel that like, you know, Hasty must exist there to hand over Harrenhal and the Riverlands to, you know, probably Aegon, maybe Daenerys, but I think that's his function in story. So I don't know if he'll bother with any curses or anything like that. Um, you know, I don't necessarily think there's anything magical going on in Harrenhal other than, you know, the werewood itself and whatever strange telepathic things can happen through the werewood. Now with Alice Rivers, Danelle Lawston, and Sheila Went, you know, obviously with Danelle Lawston, we're supposed to think about her having telepathic powers with bats and stuff, and we're supposed to think about it with comparing her to Kat and Sansa and stuff like that because of the red hair, and Alice Rivers, we do get that kind of similar thing, but Alice Rivers, um, I guess we do hear that Danelle Lawston is supposed to keep herself young by bathing in blood, right? And Alice Rivers is everybody's like, oh, she couldn't be her age and everything, but she claims she was pregnant and stuff like that. But that's just like mushroom stories, so it's hard. We don't have very much on Alice Rivers, and we have nothing on Chella Went. So, I mean, it would be a funny, interesting story if Alice Rivers and Danelle Lawston were the same person, but. I mean, I think there's more, thematic connections of all powerful liberated women are witches. Like this is kind of the whole like thematic thing, right? Like we need to fear powerful, intelligent women. They're witches, kill them. This is the main point of it all. So, like, accused of being a witch, like that's just the way it is. Do you think we'll find out that Skagos is actually similar to Wakanda, not in a technological sense, but where it is purposely sheltered from the outside world and has a thriving way of life? I think you are on the right track there. I think you're correct. I think that Skagos is probably not going to be as savage as everybody claims, just like the wildlings are not as savage as everyone claims. Like the general story, like with any of these peoples, is that we kind of think of somebody as savage, and then we meet them, and then once we understand their culture and their way of life, we're like, oh right, no, that actually they're not so crazy and savage after all. I only thought that because I like otherized them, right? So, but that would be my guess. But yeah, I think that the Skagosi probably technologically might be in between wildling and northerner, like not as primitive as the wildlings, but not as not as advanced as like the northerners, and they probably have a very functioning regular society that probably does not involve cannibalism and probably involves something else that people are confusing with cannibalism. Like, is they have some sort of religious ceremony where they, drink some blood or something symbolically or something ridiculous. Yeah, it's so strange that Kat never thinks about her mother's family, the Wents. Yeah, well, it's really weird that Robert Baratheon hates Targaryens when the Baratheon family has been intermarried with Targaryens several times, and his grandmother was a Targaryen, But yeah, it is completely weird that she never talks about her mother's family and the connection to the Wents. And really weird that the Tullys aren't at Harrenhal and things like that. Like just stuff that, it's stuff when it's weird. I realize like my problem with, like, the problem here with George is that George is really smart. He's a genius and he thinks about a lot of crazy details, but he's still a human being and he can't think about every detail, right? So we know that he makes mistakes on a lot of stuff, and we know that just a lot of stuff is, oh, he didn't think about it. Oh, he just fucked up there. But then a lot of stuff is he did think about it and he did think it through, and there is a connection, and we have no idea which are which. Like we have no idea, like which things are there intentionally and which things are just a fuck up. Because there's just as many of as each, So yeah, like why doesn't Kat think about the Wents? I mean, is he, is it a fuck up? Is he just like purposely like obscuring Went history from us because, you know, he wants to reveal it later. Um, you know, we have no idea. Um, for Tyrion 3, why the Valyrian dagger theory instead of a new theory? Um, for example, Widow of the Waterfront to set up Essos. Um, Mira, did you read the or did you read or listen to Tyrion 3?
I'm not caught up. No,
Oh no! Oh no!
I will catch up. I promise.
How far behind are you?
Very. I listened to the. It was maybe a year ago because I
Oh.
listened through the existing preview chapters that George wrote, and then I listened through the first few of yours,
Mm,
and then I dropped off. I think I got through definitely the first Sansa chapter that you put together. I thought was really good.
okay, but you didn't. The Bravo. Did you read the Bravo?
Mm-mm, not yet.
Oh, the Bravo is like what I'm very very proud of. I love the Bravo. I'll bring it up just because I sometimes I just like looking at the table of contents. Um, let's see here. Hold on. All right. So this is where we are. Prologue Elaine, Ariane 1, Princess Justice, Daenerys 1. We're working on Jamie right now. Um, it's going a little slow, not because like anything bad. It's just that a lot of good ideas came in, and I'm having trouble trying to put in all of the good ideas. Elaine 2, Ariane 2, The Envoy, John, Ariane 3, John 2. Okay, so John, Ariane, John 2, did you do the Battle of Steel? No?
No, I don't think so.
Man, you've got so many good chapters that you missed out on. First of all, okay, the chapters I'm most proud of are the prologue for the Bravo Brand 1. Like those I think are the best ones. I mean, I really love them all. I really like Elaine too as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, we've had the Battle of Steel, the whole Battle of Fire, Quentin. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Um, but what he's uh what he's asking here is why bring back the Valyrian dagger theory? Um, well, bringing back obviously like the direwolf being at the Battle of Fire was the perfect opportunity to bring it back. Like I knew that I wanted to bring back the Valyrian dagger theory because I do want there is something later with the Valyrian dagger theory that I'm thinking about with the other suspects. And I'm not talking about Jamie. Jamie's not a real suspect. But like, why bring that back? Well, because there is an opportunity. Because the direwolf. Like, once the idea in the head that like, I mean, this is how it came about. Like, I looked at the appendix, and there's two. Um, and I'm going to release the going over Tyrion probably either tomorrow or Tuesday. But the Beastmaster and the Charioteer were in the appendix and had not entered the story. So they both needed to enter the story, and they were both kind of perfect to enter the story because like the Beastmaster being an animal guy would have cages where the hostages would be, and considering that two of our characters are dwarves that cannot run, having a chariot is a perfect opportunity to get them to have transportation. So that was there. But then this idea of like the direwolf being one of the animals at the Beastmaster's camp, once I thought of that, I was like, oh my gosh, that has to be in there. Like it just has to be. Like, because when else are we going to be able to have a direwolf like in the story? Besides the kids' direwolf, besides the Stark children's direwolves, like an actual adult direwolf. And then it just became, well, now it's a great opportunity for Tyrion to undo the stupidness of Joffrey sending the cat's paw. Okay, it was like you have the opportunity, you're gonna take it. So yes, Mira in Tyrion 3, Tyrion there is a direwolf in this chapter, and Tyrion thinks about the cat's paw riddle again, and decides no, it's not Joffrey, it's Jaime. Um, so, but why didn't bring back the
Oh.
Widow of the Waterfront? The Widow of the Waterfront's coming back. Widow of the Waterfront's coming back. Um, the Samuel 2. Samuel 2 is going to have to do with Volantis. And so Widow of the Waterfront's coming back. That'll be dealt with. So don't you worry. Don't you worry. All right. Is time traveling Bran jumping into younger bodies, or is someone else, or is he just influencing dreams for the future? No, I have this. I think that time traveling Bran is in the werewood, or just in general in the network or in the air. I don't think he needs to jump into bodies. I think that there was an attempt with Hodor to scramble his mind, but I don't think there's any need for time traveling Bran to like hop bodies to body jump. Because we certainly don't have any evidence of anybody that seems like time traveling Bran. Like even Bloodraven doesn't seem like time traveling Bran, right? If there was one person that would be the receptacle for time traveling Bran, it would be Bloodraven, right? But I can't think of anybody else, unless he's trying to jump into himself. But then what is he in now, right? So I think he is. I think he's an entity that. I mean, maybe I think the idea is that like. That while his consciousness can join with Bran's and then hop back in time, back to the werewood or something, to be time traveling. That maybe the consciousness can all blend together. Like each Bran can join in, but it gets with time travel. Everything gets kind of. I mean, we're talking about time travel, and we're talking about like blended consciousness. Everything gets dizzying, but I don't think he needs to jump into any younger bodies. He may need. I mean, maybe he needs to jump in right when Bran time travels. I mean, I could see like while Bran is falling and he's in the weightlessness, time traveling Bran enters Bran and is trying to time travel back to the past at that moment or something. Maybe it's time travel. Yeah. See, now you've convinced me. Time traveling Bran is trying to get Bran to fall so he can jump into the body at the right time to time travel back and have the whole cluster of Brans go. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it. That's probably it. Something like, yeah, I think that's it. Because the alternative, I think, is only one, like a fresh new Bran would go every time, and that Bran wouldn't have all that knowledge. Yeah, no, Daniel, you've convinced me. It is like the cluster of consciousness is trying to jump into Bran to time travel back, and so the cluster keeps looping and growing and adding more Brans, using the body every time. Yes, yes, yes. Um, Um,
I pulled up the Bravo chapter. I'm reading it. I'm on page 4 or 5. This is really good. You're right.
you gotta love the Bravo. The Bravo's great. It's one of my yeah. Um,
Yeah.
did you hear about the Iranian president, CIA op? Now, um, I did hear about this. Um, he's missing right now, right? Here's the thing: is that like if you're gonna have if you're gonna do something like this, okay, it's this is why I don't think it's a CIA op. I think the it just so happens that I don't know. I don't think the CIA would be this dumb. Um, but one thing is the Iranian president doesn't really have that much power. Like the country is ruled by a grand ayatollah. Like he's the one that has all the power. The president doesn't really do that much in Iran. So like why focus on the Iranian president? Like why if you're going to put in effort to do something, why do that? Um because you're not really affecting any change. Um also like you'd say like who would benefit from that? Would the US benefit from that in any way? Like please explain how. Like but the other thing is like the the risk, right? Like say it comes out that this is some sort of like CIA op. Like like how that makes everyone look bad, how that might cause conflict and war. Like these sorts of things aren't really like just done willy-nilly. Also, currently, for what it's worth, assassinations are illegal. Now, granted, an assassination hit was done by Trump, but but it was that CIA hits were supposedly illegal, but for what it's worth. But um, I just don't. I don't know. It'd be really, really silly, but we'll see. I don't think so. Um, Tyrion's acrobat back was awesome. Easter egg to Preston Jacobs fans. I find Damon's quote about the veil and the sheep in the Rome series really. In season 2, episode 3, really about the yeah. Oh man. So you're saying George R. R. Martin stole a line. Um, um, sheep. Is it the quote? Is the quote the same? I'll have to look that one up. It's funny. I mean, you know, people steal all the time, and Fire and Blood is, and I mean, I guess this is Rogue Prince, Princess of the Queen, Fire and Blood. It's not exactly George's best work. It's something he kind of threw together really fast. But I will. I mean, he gives the exact time here.
Yeah.
Season 2, episode 3, 8 minutes 50 seconds. Um, about the sheep. What the sheep are prettier.
Yeah. I also found a quote to that effect in Lord Edward's Archer.
Oh, really?
By yeah, like And I was talking about this with a friend of mine, that that is sort of an old-timey insult that people used to just throw around, like, oh, those guys from the next town over, they sleep with sheep, or
Mm-hmm.
the thoughts about how syphilis came to Europe, that if it started with llamas in the Americas, what were the conquistadors doing? That
Right.
even that specific phrasing is something that, you know, two people with some knowledge of history like could both come up with that, I think, independently. Um,
Yes, yes. Um, yeah, it's true. I mean, every society has like the stupid people joke, like how many whatever does it take to screw in a light bulb? Like every society has those kind of things, and everybody's going to have like, oh, their women are uglier than animals jokes. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, and so in that sense, like it could just be that he put it in there because it's such a common kind of joke to make, um, that you'd find that in almost any time period, any place. That's true.
Yeah, I
But
hope
if
nobody pulls up my. Oh, sorry.
yeah, yeah.
My search history, because I just googled the jokes about fucking sheep. There are a lot of them.
Yeah. Um, have you seen Attack on Titan? Pretty strong connection between Eren and Bran. Yeah, everybody tells me about Attack on Titan and how there's a big time travel element at the end. And everybody kind of says that it seems to be the same as Ice and Fire, or at least what I'm proposing about Ice and Fire with time traveling Bran. I haven't had the time to
Hmm.
watch it through. Yeah, have you seen it through, Mira?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind
Carmine
of the
has.
same. Yeah, it's kind of it's ridiculous. It's kind of the same.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like what? So a character at the end time travels,
Fuck, it's been a minute. Shit. It's
and it's just it's
Aaron.
consciousness time travel, right?
Yeah, Aaron. Fuck. What does he do? I fucking forgot. I watched it. I read it, and I watched it. And it's been so long. I like you kind of because the ending is so. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Aaron like the reason everything happens, or the reason a lot of catastrophes happen, is because Aaron goes back in time and commands his father to do this one thing, so certain events could play out.
Gotcha. Time traveling to read, yeah, all the events that, and it makes you reinterpret everything, all the events that happened, because it turns out it was a time travel the whole time.
Not the whole time. Some of the time. Some of the times.
Yeah. Were you in DC when the sniper, during the sniper spree? Was it scary? I was in DC when the DC sniper thing happened. It was kind of a funny thing because, nothing changed. Everyone was out and about, but when it was happening, no one knew anything about it. So, and the news on was, okay, look out for a white van. It turns out the sniper was not in a white van at all. But of course, like white vans are everywhere. So like you just like see white vans everywhere, and everyone's like, "There's the sniper," like as a joke. And everyone would kind of be like, everyone would say to each other, "Yeah, the sniper, uh huh." But there were no details, so no one could talk about anything. So you'd like bring it up and just go, "Yeah, crazy," but there wasn't anything to say, um, about it at all, because there was no information known. It was just that somebody was going around killing people randomly, and there was no details to discuss. There's no ins and outs or intricacies. So I don't know if it was scary, but it was just one of these weird moments where like people, like no one ever talks about like this really weird actual thing on the ground that everyone was just like, huh, we want to talk about something, but there's nothing to say. Like, so it was on everybody's head mind. It was definitely very salient, like, like in the zeitgeist of the city. Like, oh crap, there's a sniper going around, and he just goes to random places and kills people. and he's in a white van, and that was it, you know. So not really scary, just weird, very weird. But I remember it clearly, you know. Um, Holy cow! Could Bran's initial fall from the tower be the first attempt for cluster to grab for the cluster of consciousness to grab Bran, but they failed. I mean, I hadn't thought of that, but I think it's Bran wouldn't be telepathically ready yet. You know, he needs to be trained. He needs to go into that. He needs to go into the crypts and be in the dark and have his third eye opened, and then he needs to, you know, go get trained by Bloodraven and all sorts of things before he has like the ability to be unlocked. You know, so I always thought about you know, the tower as like more the making of the monster, not the initial like, oh gosh, got to grab him there. But trying to think, like if there would be a way, because you know at that point, what do you time travel to? Where are you time traveling from that point to? To when he's a baby? Um, let's. Um, don't just blame Trump. Obama assassinated an American citizen in Yemen with a drone. Yeah, I think that did happen. I think it was maybe originally lifted by or violated by W. I think there was something W did. Um, uh, but I think there was also like some weird thing about the difference between an an enemy combatant versus an actual. So therefore, it's not an enemy combatant is therefore not a an assassination. I think there was some like parsing of words. You know, I'm not saying I don't think it's an assassination, but I'm saying that there's a legalistic like excuse for the stuff done by W and Obama, while you can't make the same um, argument for legally speaking for Trump's. But you know, it might be, you know, legal slippery slopes, you know, and all this. But um, I think that would be the difference. Um, uh, I was thinking that if it's an assassination, it would be internal, not from any foreign power. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, who knows? Um, it also could just be an accident. You know, like it could. You know, let's not discount the fact that helicopters are pretty dangerous and they crash all the time. You know, um, Mira Carmine, do you remember when the drummer of Blink 182 was in a plane crash and like he and his friends survived and everybody else died?
No.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. Um,
What? That happened?
yeah.
Is it Travis Barker? Is that his name?
Travis Barker, uh, plane crash. Um, yeah, here it is. On the night of September 19th, 2008. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm sorry. 4 of 6 people on board died in the crash. The survivors, musician Travis Barker and disc jockey Adam DJ Goldstein were critically injured. So yeah, they were in a plane crash, killed four of the six people on board. Um, you know, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I think it's even in there. They even reference it in the new song because that they put out because it was like I think there's a line like it shouldn't take a sickness or a plane falling out of the sky for us to like get back together or something, and it's like because one of them got cancer and then the other was in a plane. It was in a plane crash, and you're like, but it's pretty it'd be pretty crazy if you're in a plane crash and like you and your friend like survive and everybody else dies. But yeah, planes do crash all the time. Helicopters do crash all the time. So let's also remember that. So, uh, uh, uh.
I was going to say, I wonder if that had any impact on Tom DeLonge's alien conspiracy theories. Like, oh, my friend
That's
was in a plane
right.
crash. Aliens must have been involved.
He is like so obsessed with yeah, with all the alien theories. But I mean, it's amazing how far we've come as a country. Like now, what the most popular podcast in the world is essentially a forum for conspiracy theories, right? Like the JRE is like just a forum for like people to go on and do conspiracy theories, and like that's mainstream. Like it's weird that conspiracy theories have become so mainstream that just like now that's just what regular normal people now just believe. Um, um, yeah, part of my theory I sent you, not confirmed. Damon had Caraxes at Golden Company 101, hence why he needed an army. Um, yeah, I'll have to read this. The I'm sorry, Great Council. I was like Golden Company. Damon had Caraxes at Golden Council at 101, hence why he needed an army. Um, I mean, I do think Damon definitely had. Oh, did he have Caraxes by then? Because his dad had just died. No, but his dad had Vagar. Yeah, so Aemond died in 91. So he definitely probably, yeah, I think he definitely had Caraxes at 101. Um, oh, oh, you're saying that it's not confirmed that Damon had Caraxes at 101, thus he needed the army. Um, I'm just trying to think of like from I mean, if Damon didn't have Caraxes, and again, it's not confirmed if he had it at 101. I think he probably did, but um, it's me like Rhaenys is being really nice at this point by just accepting the results when she has all of the power, right? Because at that point, the only dragon riders are Jaehaerys, who's an old man, um, and her. Like, right? She's the only one that is riding any dragons. Um, so shouldn't she just rule the kingdom? Shouldn't she, like she has the power? Like, why wouldn't she just take over? And Damon only hires sellswords. He only hires a few of them. But the only thing that makes me think that Damon had it in the council is that what else is stopping Rhaenys from just taking control of the kingdom? Because Balon had Vagar. Balon dies, so Vagar has no owner. So Yes, like there's Silverwing, and Vermithor, but um, and Alice Alicent dies. Alicent dies in what? In 100. So she's not a rider at all. So the old king with Vermithor is the only one who's a rider, and he's probably hasn't even ridden anymore because he's sickly and crazy. So like I'm only thinking that Damon has to have the dragon, or else Rhaenys is just being an idiot. She could have just taken over the kingdom. Um, this is kind of funny. The Iranian president was a Boeing whistleblower.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. Kobe. All of these people, man. These are all CIA hits, man. CIA needed to take out Kobe. They needed to take out um, they needed to take out Travis Barker, and they missed. This is all part of the conspiracy.
Well, they were aiming for Tom DeLonge. They got the wrong Blink 182 guy. He
Ah,
was
you're
he
right.
he was
They
cottoning
just
onto the alien thing.
that's the problem with the CIA is they're so competent and so incompetent at the same time that they were able to secretly and precisely plan a plane crash, but then they mixed up which member of Blink 182 was on the plane. God
That could
damn
be a
it!
novel. I would read that novel.
Can you change characters' names and do a 50 Shades? Maybe. Um, obviously, if George releases the Winds of Winter and we have a half done book, um, it would be a shame if that writing that took a lot of time like went to waste. So it'd be nice if you could change the names and do a 50 Shades of Grey with it. You know.
Telling you, man, wins is coming. Telling you.
So Carmine's convinced that Winds is coming at the end of the year,
That's right.
and
And you know how I know this? You know how I know this, Preston? It
mhm,
came to me in a dream. There it is.
yeah,
There it is. And that's all I'm saying. It came to me in a
CIA
dream.
killed John Aaron. It was a hit. The yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Um, Carmine was convinced because
Well,
somebody noted on. Oh, you don't want to talk about it at
because
all.
I don't want to talk about that. That's why.
Okay,
That's because.
okay. I don't think it's yes, no. I think you're being a sweet summer child, because George has not mentioned or wrote about a thing. He hasn't wrote about progress at all. Like, and when things are going well, he writes about how things are going well, and when things aren't going well, he's silent. He's completely silent. Um, we know that during the end of A Dance with Dragons, he was very vocal about it being near the finish line and which chapters were being done, how many chapters were being done, which ones are getting cut, which ones are being moved, how many more he needed to write. He talked about that a lot. Then he was very silent about writing for what? Like for years and years and years, and about his
You know,
progress.
he's actually been quiet lately. He's only
Hmm.
posted one time in May. In fact, let me go to uh, not a blog. Yeah, he hasn't even posted about the final HOTD trailer
Yeah,
or the fact that the news came out that he will be a raider on Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
yeah, and
So he's been mysteriously quiet.
but the thing is, during COVID, he was active in talking about progress when he was back on progress. He gave the page counts and everything, and then after the page counts stopped, he also stopped writing about progress.
Hmm.
So we kind of knew that a year went by, and it's stated 1,100 pages, and there's been no talk since then about progress. So no talk about anything. So when he's silent, it means it's not going well. And logically speaking, the only time in which there was really progress on wins was COVID. A time where everything else in his life got shut down and he was trapped inside.
So what you're saying is we need COVID back to finish wins.
Well, the problem is COVID's not going to work again. Like, people are not going to shut down again for COVID. Like, they're exhausted from that. They're never going to do that again. It could be like 50% death rate, and people would still be like, "I'm out," like. So, no. So there would need to be another event like that would keep him inside writing, and there's not. Like everything.
So what you're saying is we need to frame George R. R. Martin to where he's gone on house arrest, and there it is.
Yeah.
Frame him for some crime where he would be required to be on house arrest. Put an ankle bracelet on him.
Yeah. Let's see. If you were the head of Columbia, how would you have handled the protests? As a former educator, I'm genuinely curious about your thoughts on this. I think that the interesting thing about the campus protests, and granted, I will grant that like the different protests had different demands, but for instance, the way Brown handled their protesters was pretty masterful. They just were like, okay, you're asking us to divest. We'll have a vote on it like in October. And everyone's like, okay. And they all went home so they could study for their exams. Done. Now, in October, are they going to divest? We have no idea. I'm sure Brown is hoping that like by October, the issue will be quieter. And so it seems like the Brown method was the best one. Like, yeah, we'll throw you this bone. We'll have a vote. Okay, now please go home. That seemed to be the best thing to do. Like, now with Columbia, granted, I think Columbia had a lot more investment. And the demands, maybe the protesters are demanding something different. But I think, rather than to have on the news a bunch of, police and bulletproof vests and riot gears, like, hit kids or a Dartmouth where somebody slammed a Jewish professor to the ground, like for protesting, and like, rather than looking like freaking idiots, like, deal with it, come up with something savvy, like the way Brown handled it. And, like give people something, so that they can go home, so, cause a lot of times they want to go home, but there's a pride issue. They need to feel like they've won something. And so I think the way Brown handled it was probably pretty masterful. And Columbia probably should have done the same. And we do have to ask ourselves, like, should these universities be invested in these very political issues? So of course, Preston is behind the Brown method.
Wait, what did Brown do? Remind me.
Oh, so Brown just said it, like the student protesters were like, we want you to divest. So they said, okay, we'll have a vote on it in October.
Cool.
And the protesters went home.
Hopefully it's all done by October. Hopefully. Holy shit.
Right. I mean, seemed pretty easy, right? Like it was it. But yeah, but I generally think that universities should probably steer clear of such contentious issues as I don't know if you've heard, but some people think that Israel Palestine is a very gets a lot of passion in people. I don't know. You ever heard about this? You ever heard about this issue?
Yeah, just a little. Um, well, and this was I completely agree about the Brown thing. I don't know if you want my lawyer take.
Okay.
Um, well, so I've seen this come up like a lot in the Twitter discourse, people getting into like First Amendment and yada yada. And now some
Hmm.
of these protests are taking place on at public school campuses where obviously the First Amendment applies. Like
Hmm.
there was a really big protest at USF in Tampa. But there is an interesting question that's been raised in like the higher ed legal communities, that at this point there are private schools that receive so much government funding, like through government subsidized student loans, et cetera, that and it hasn't been done yet. There's very little case law like for higher ed in general. And so there are questions also about like how much FERPA applies at private universities. But a student could, in good faith, make the argument that if the private school accepts or is funded X amount with government money, that the First Amendment would apply, because at that point they are an extension of the government, or they're acting
Hmm.
as an extension of the government. Um, so that's why like I love seeing people go back and forth. Well, oh well, it's a private school, and I'm like, well, if you ask a real lawyer, the answer is always going to be it depends.
Right. Right.
um, but
I mean,
but yeah,
the private schools. I mean, almost all the private schools contain public funding. Almost all the public schools contain private funding. It's a
mhm,
sliding scale on on how public and private something is. With universities.
exactly.
But damn, PJ, I've never really disagreed with you on a fundamental level. You seriously talking about censoring college kids? How did I say anything similar to that? What? Like I said nothing
Welcome
similar
to
to that
being, ladies and
at
gentlemen,
all.
this is what it's like to be a YouTuber. You say your favorite color is red, someone calls you a pedophile. That's literally, I don't know how the mental
I
gymnastics
don't.
work there with these
I said
retards, but there it is.
nothing similar to this at all. Like not even in the same ballpark. Like at all. I think I said do what Brown did, which was more or less give in to fairly reasonable protester demands. Like I don't nothing about censoring college kids. Like what are you talking about? Like at least he's like my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. That like even like if I were general counsel, even at a private school, I would advise not trying to trample on student speech. Just let them have the protest. Acknowledge them. Yes, we hear
Right.
you. Because like that way, all your bases are covered. You know.
I'm looking at it more like I'm looking at it actually more from like a capitalistic like business perspective. Like say you have um say you're running a university and say it's 100% private, all right? You still want your university to be appealing to people. No one wants
Yeah.
to think of your university as the university that bashes down kids with like in riot gear. Whether or not you're justified in doing that or not, you don't want to be that school. Like, do you think Kent State like likes that on them? like, do you think they
Yeah.
like that the most famous thing about their university, like in the past 100 years, is the fact that they beat down protesters? Like, just like don't pay attention, like just don't do it. Like I don't care if you're justified. I don't care if like the other group is like being a bunch of spoiled kids. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Think about it in a capitalistic sense. You want your school to survive. You want kids to pay those high tuitions to go to that school. You want to
Well,
be like seen as this great place that people will want to pay for. um, you certainly don't want,
Uh,
you know, Like
On the
even if
flip
you,
side of
What's
it,
that, Preston? Your favorite character is Sweet Robin? So what are you saying? Russian soldiers should rape Ukrainian women? Is that what you're saying? Like, what are you saying? Like, what? What are you saying? Taiwan should
I,
take China? Is that why you had that burrito? Like, what are you saying?
yeah, I know. It's oh no, by the way, I'm searching for something. Oh, here we go. I want to talk about this. Yeah. Um, so that's the thing. It's like McDonald's, has the right to tweet out anything. It has the right to tweet out, "You guys all suck" to its customers. But it wouldn't be necessarily smart to do that. So like, I'm not even talking about like what the university has the right to do, but like how is it best to really handle the situation? And you don't want your school on the news with people in riot gear beating down police. Like, come on, that's not going to make your school look good. And so, I guarantee like Columbia is going to drop in the rankings. Guarantee Columbia is going to drop in the rankings.
I don't know. I mean, there are people who will still go for the name, or like, I grew up in Northeast Ohio,
Hmm.
and like plenty of people still go to Kent State. You know,
Yeah.
my sixth grade teacher went there. My best friend from high school got her bachelor's and her master's at Kent State. I mean, granted, it is like a
Yeah.
local state school. Like nobody's going to Kent State if they're not from Ohio, but you know.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Well, what upcoming chapter are you are dreading the most to write in the fanfic? Um,
Everyone who's not Ario Hota.
no, area. The next area. So I'll tell you the ones that. So I'll go back to the table of contents here. All right, I'll tell you the ones that like I'm like. There's some that I know are going to be really hard, but at the same time, I think are going to be pretty fun. Like I do think that like Aaron is going to be really hard, but really fun. I think Cersei is going to be really like getting into Cersei is so complicated that and just all of King's Landing politics that it's I'm dreading Cersei a little bit. I think I
Bro, we're
think
getting Hota 3 before like a Stannis or a Melisandre?
well no, it's right here.
Oh, I'm
Melisandre is right
sorry.
here.
Oh, I see that.
Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't worry
We're
about it.
getting Mercy? Oh,
Well, I just threw it in there,
of course.
So there's some that are going to be super fun. Like Samuel 2 is going to be incredible. Brand 2 is going to be incredible. Hotah 3 is going to be really fun. But Cersei, got to figure out like what's going on with like everything in King's Landing, the complexity of it. And Melisandre is probably also going to be one of the most complicated chapters because it's about you got to go back and figure out all the politics of like the wall and where the like which wildling is at which tower and like this whole shebang. Melisandre is going to be complicated. So those are the ones that kind of like that I dread are the ones where it's just like you have to figure out and get it all straight because some of them are fairly simple. Where you don't have to think of like, even though Ash is a battle chapter, like we all kind of know what's going on at the Battle of Fire, like, Samwell is going to be super complicated. And I've got to like figure out that whole thing. Cause it's not just the complexities of it's going to be Volantis, but it's not only the complexity of Volantis, but the complexities of Old Town at the same time. And there's a lot going on. So, I mean, I look forward to them all, but it's also like, you dread like trying to figure out how to piece them all together. I think my excitement for Samuel 2 is more than my like anxiety about the complexities of it. Melisandre and Cersei, I think the complexities are above my excitement. I'm like, oh God, like how am I gonna, there's so many characters to keep straight and try to figure out and try to like resolve. But and there's a few that like I haven't really put much thought into it at all. Like Daenerys, like what's she gonna do in Karth? Um, you know, what, I don't know. So we'll see. There's a lot, it's a lot of work, but this is roughly like the next year and getting to the halfway point of the story of, which is funny to think about. Like, I was thinking about doing a video at some point, but House of the Dragon is coming. I've got too many other videos to do, but about how like writing this has made me has completely changed my opinion about what's possible in the Winds of Winter, and how much of the plot can go. Because it's just like resolving everything from A Dance with Dragons is half the story. Like resolving the battles and the trials. Jamie's trial, Cersei's trial, the battle of ice, fire, steel, and blood. Like you have to resolve all those, and then you're only halfway. So, like fuck. Don't even get to push the story forward very much. It's just resolving everything that George has set up. Mm. Ah. Um. Wow, the North Remembers is really good. It's 430,000 words. Wow, I'm not joking. And she polished it over 7 years. Wow, I didn't realize the North Remembers was that long.
What is this?
There's another fanfic out there called The North Remembers,
Another one?
um, and it is a finishing up of the series.
Oh, how
Yeah.
long ago was this? Because I'm looking at one thing right now by Queen of Hades from 2012. What is this? Do you know who is this?
It's on. Wow. Oh my God. Incredible. Um, so she wrote 113 chapters to close out the series. And the chapters are a prologue, Val, No One, Jane, Davos, Elaine, Asha, Satin, Mira, the Gravedigger, Jamie, Davos, the Wolf Maid,
Oh, show
Ghost.
me this. Yeah, send it to me on Facebook, who or show it on your thingy. I've never heard of this before.
I've heard of it before. I didn't realize it was so large. I thought it was shorter than that, but I was very wrong. Um,
According to Hype House Homie, the people on Reddit are saying it's shallow and doesn't capture George R. R. Martin's world building.
yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
I should probably get someone who has read this and ask them questions because I'm kind of curious,
I mean,
but not that curious. Yeah, Queen of Hades. This person on your super chat said Silverblood. Who's Silverblood? Is that the person as well, or oh no, I see it here. Silver Raven Star, maybe same person. Um, wow.
yeah.
So for whatever reason, this person realized that George probably might not complete it, and they didn't want to wait
Hmm.
even back then, and so they decided to complete it without ever getting any of the sample chapters.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm kind of curious if there's.
I mean, good for her. The
So it's just Winds of Winter, or
I think it's just the whole like Winds of Winter and
oh,
A
and
Dream of
Dream.
Spring. Um, but here's a sample. Val. Everything was chaos. She elbowed through it one way and then another, but as soon as she'd cleared a path, it closed, and more kneelers went pelting past in their steel small clothes and their absurd helmets. One of the kneelers was pleading that they must look to the queen, who'd collapsed at the news of her husband and had been carried away. Someone else wanted to know where the Red Witch was, wanted her head for her lying fires that had that had led his grace to his end in the ruinous northern hinterlands. And louder than them all rose the bellows of Tormund Giantsbane, demanding to be let at the crows that he had done for Lord Snow, demanding to know if they were men or cockless cowards to do this thing. So,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
I need to interrupt you for 1 sec. I,
yeah.
I, I love this comment from Mr. Wumbo. She said, "How did she finish without having 27 arrows?"
Having what?
I'm
You're
sorry.
you're laughing too much. I can't.
I'm sorry. How did she finish without? Find this comment.
Where what are you talking about? Where is this?
Uh, scroll down.
600,000 words in 2 years.
No, scroll up a little bit.
Scroll up.
Scroll up a little bit. One more, one more, one more.
Where?
It's still
There we
right there.
go. How do you finish without having 27 area hotel chapters? You're right that no proper story can't be finished without 27 area hotel chapters. Yeah, no. So obviously reading it like, it's not in George R. R. Martin's style. Um, I have to. It's not bad writing. I have to commend the length and everything. That hey, you did it. You did it. You did it. Like that's a massive undertaking. And what a wonderful thing that somebody did this.
Hey, do you want to like do you want I don't think I can get this person on. I don't even know this person. If anyone has read this person's whole fanfic, hit me up. I have questions. And yeah, if you've read the whole thing, don't bullshit. I will quiz you. But if you've read the whole thing, like, are you gonna read this? Because I feel like this would be an interesting video to make a topic on. Like, we're not gonna shit on it or anything like that. We're not gonna criticize it.
No. Yeah, no. I mean,
I'm just curious.
just to say, like, where, like, just to talk about like where the characters go and how she chose to end it. Yeah, I think that's worth going through. I mean, it's a mammoth read,
Hold on, I think I found the guy. I gotta make sure he's not some weirdo Trump supporter. Just gotta make sure. Gotta make sure. You get a couple of those every now and then. Fucking weird ass.
Yeah.
Weirdos in this fandom, really?
I know. I read the whole thing. It's
No.
long.
I was going to say, Preston, I think 3/4 of the way through now, the Bravo chapter.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love your take on the glass candles.
Yeah.
And, because like I had initially imagined them as being kind of like scrying glasses, like fundamentally different from the way like the weirwood nut functions. But I really like these parallels that you've created, and it's sort of in that way of like ice and fire, that like the obsidian comes out of the, it's volcano rock, and it's tied to the volcanoes and the fire in the same way that the trees would be tied to like the water and the forest and the children. And so like those parallel effects and then the functioning as well, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I have to give props. The original proto version of it was a submission by a user named Royan F, and he's the one that came up with the idea of a religious fanatic in lice who is the main focus, and he kind of had the glass candles being a more like almost universal perspective around an area, but I really liked it being like inside the brain. I think another user had talked about how George handled like a consciousness going into somebody in the story Under Siege, and I really kind of mimicked it to that he's like becoming that character, and being in the subconscious behind him. much like in the. So I essentially took Royan's idea and then took Under Siege, which was some other users brought it up, and then kind of the chapter evolved from there. The Bravo came out. It just came out great. I think it's just I'm really proud of that one and all the effort people put into that one. It's so yeah. And you haven't even gotten to the end. You haven't even gotten to the fun part, but you've gotten back to the Bravo, like Sam going back to the Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just also, I appreciate that. Like I think we got Sam's voice down really well in that too. So, but yeah. I'm curious if the North Remembers has like the same sort of like lore detail. Like
From what I can see here, it feels very. I just skipped to the fucking epilogue at the very end. It just seems here that like this is someone who's a big fan of the Stark women.
That's fine. It's interesting that the Hound gets so many chapters. Sandor gets 5 chapters.
I mean, he is a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Click off this fucking comment, yo.
What's that? The 27 HOTD chapters? Making you laugh
Come out
too
of
much?
nowhere. Come out of fucking nowhere. That's good.
Oh man.
What's funny is he doesn't know your plans for HOTD. He doesn't know, and he's it's not like he's not really wrong. He's not really wrong.
No, but I mean, I definitely want HOTD. Look, HOTD in the in our Winds of Winter will have at least 4 chapters. He'll have 4 chapters. I mean, you've seen that it's 3, but it's at least 4. But 27 HOTD chapters in a movie, yes.
Honestly, like I will be very real with you. I love your ideas for HOTD. They're just great. Don't spoil it, but they're great. They're great. And because when you were telling me, I was like, really, you're gonna do this? Like, okay.
Yeah, making the Bravo kind of like a reference to the Three Musketeers was cool. Yeah, definitely. Like his entire rescue plan for Gilly is inspired by the Three Musketeers and his backstory. They talk about his backstory and his backstory matches that of D'Artagnan and things like that. So it's yes, he was definitely like inspired by the Three Musketeers.
Griffin's got a great super chat. only you could take that offer. I can't take that shit.
What's that? Oh. Top 3 pizza toppings. We'll get to this. I mean, you can't I mean, you can't beat pepperoni, right? Can you what? I mean, Mr. Calzone, you have your
fucking joke, bro.
What's that?
Just fucking I go for just cheese every time. However, in Jersey, Brazilians love that Catupiry, which is Brazilian cream cheese. That is the ultimate pizza topping. If you're ever in Jersey in Newark, Brazilian pizza, phenomenal Catupiry pizza. It's cream cheese basically, but it's really good.
Look, if I'm choosing 3 pizza toppings, I'm going like pepperoni, green pepper, and black olives, or maybe pepperoni, sausage, and black olives. Maybe topping. Something like that. I'm not, that's where I'm at. There's certain things I shy away from, and there's certain things I like, but I mean, I like a lot of different pizza toppings, but and it's not like I dislike a Hawaiian, and it's not like I dislike salami or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, a pizza is, pepper. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple American man, and I like me a pepperoni pizza. Okay, I'm a simple man. Can't be cheese. What are you saving money on the streets of New York? I can't pay extra 50 cents for a slice. not going to do that. If George R. R. Martin could finish the book tomorrow, but you had to pay him $10,000, would you do it? Second, when is the next Going Over chapter going to be uploaded? I would pay him $10,000. Yes, if he could finish it tomorrow.
$10,000.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
What about per chapter? 10,000 per chapter. Don't even fucking make that face like you don't got it.
No, I can't. I'm not going to do 10,000 per chapter. No.
Per chapter, really?
What am I going to do with 10,000? Like 10. He's got 70 fucking chapters to do. You think I'm handing George $700,000?
Wait a minute. First off, we both know you're the only guy in the world with these fucking chapters in your hand.
You're saying he gives them to me and me alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
You're making that money back. You're making that money back on YouTube. No problem.
Oh my god! If I'm the only I give him $700,000, and then he gives me The Winds of Winter, and everyone knows it's George R. R. Martin's, but I have exclusive rights to release it. Holy fuck!
Oh, come on, bro.
No, but I thought this was just like he would release it out in the open, and it would be like $10,000.
No.
Yeah, I'd pay him $10,000 to have the book. I want
per chapter, $700,000.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, I don't have $700,000 to just give somebody, but you give installments of like I finance it. But when's the next Going Over chapter? I think it'll be either tomorrow or Tuesday. I filmed the first half of Tyrion 3. I haven't filmed the second half, but because it's a long chapter. But it should be out very soon. Okay, all right. It is. Dream's epilogue is HOTD. Well, it's got to be somebody else, right? I mean, I've told Carmine my idea that like Dream's epilogue is like some Frey girl from who's at the Citadel.
You didn't say this to me.
Oh, really?
Some Frey girl? What the fuck? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, I had an idea that like it was like the epilogue is like 500 years after, and it's like some Frey girl who is at a branch of the Citadel that's in it's near the Twins or whatever, and she's just
there's so much to unpack there. First off,
right,
a woman at the Citadel, a branch,
but
and
not
the fucking Freys survived.
Right. And it's just
500 years.
Where Westeros is 500 years in the future. That's it.
And still no printing press. Huh. Interesting.
Carmine, you Portuguese, you ready to kill some people?
Why? What happened?
I thought you hate Portuguese because you're Brazilian.
No, that's not why. Oh, this fucking guy. I've actually just never met legit. I've actually never met in my life in person, not online, in person. Never met a single Portuguese person I ever got along with. I'm being legit. Never. That's ridiculous. Not once. I swear to God, Preston. I used to work at this place in Newark, and my step uncle is that a term? Like the guy who married my aunt. He got me the job there, and he told me the first day I was there. He told me the first day, he goes, this sounds very racist, but he is a Brazilian man who's brown. So he goes, make nice with the black guys around this neighborhood. That way you don't get jumped. And it's funny he said that. I didn't even have to make nice. I've never had a problem with any of the black people in Newark. Never had a problem with any Hispanics, any white people. No, it's always been Portuguese people every single fucking time. Never had a problem with any of them. Anybody else. Only Portuguese people.
That's ridiculous. Now I understand that you used to live in Newark, which has a high Portuguese population.
Yes, sir.
So
Unfortunate.
now, but you're running into Portuguese Americans. Portuguese people,
Not exactly. No, 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 not exactly.
but you know,
Some of these
I've
motherfuckers
been to
just got off the
Portugal.
boat.
Portuguese people are sweet
Sorry to
and
hear that.
wonderful. Every single
Disagree.
last one of them.
Not the
Every
ones I've
single
met.
one is a wonderful, sweet person. So I don't know where you're getting this like you hate all Portuguese people, because every
Bro,
Portuguese person.
tell you what, I meet one that's chill, I'll change my mind. Until then, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Carmine,
It's
this
like,
is sounding a bit like a Family Guy bit from one of the early seasons. Because doesn't that happen? Like Peter's a ship captain and he hires the Portuguese, and then Seth MacFarlane does a fourth wall break, and he's like, nobody's going to know what a Portuguese are, or something like that.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it.
I'll
the
find
Frey
it. I'll
Girl
send it to
epilogue
you.
has been mentioned many times. It's true. It's true that the Frey Girl
It
epilogue has been
has?
mentioned many times, but Carmine doesn't listen to me. He doesn't
That's
listen.
not true. First off, don't say that. That's not true. Number one. Number two, I don't remember this. I don't remember this. Come on, Mod. By the way, modern here. I've been talking to him privately. He's a big fan of the fanfic. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's a YouTuber as well. We could probably have him on, and he could tell you what his favorite parts of the fanfic are.
Yeah. So, he's like, Shogun says that Portuguese are the enemies.
True.
That's where Carmine gets it, because he thinks he's living.
Well, stop.
He thinks he's living in Shogun.
See, he does this all the time, where he fucks me over with this. You see, he does this all the time.
Yeah, look. Okay, so I'll tell you why I have this affinity for Portugal, and why Carmine like gets angry at me for having an affinity for Portugal.
When am
So
I angry at you for this? When has this happened?
so I I did my study abroad in college in Barcelona, and Barcelona back then. Keep in mind, I'm an old man, so you know you're back with me, you're back with me in college. It's Spain. It's the '90s. They're using the peseta. There's no euros. It's dirt cheap. It's a dirty, rugged, gritty kind of place. Barcelona, and it's awesome. It's awesome. You can get a bucket of mussels for like 300 pesetas, which is like $2. You know, you can get a bottle of wine for 150 pesetas, $1. We had such an incredible time. I just remember like one night, like being at a bar and meeting some like artists, and you go down to the medieval quarter and you're like in their little apartment in the medieval quarter, and you're like, this is insane. Like these starving artists. And then I go back many years later, and Barcelona is expensive and gentrified and filled with boutique shops, and it's just gone. Like the Barcelona I knew was just gone. Um, just filled with tourists and everything. Like bucket of mussels is like €50 or something. I can't, so, and then I went to Lisbon and I went to Portugal, and I was like, oh my God, it's Spain from 20 years ago. Everything's dirty and cheap and wonderful.
Jesus.
Oh, they're so that's why I have this affinity for Portugal.
Because you like things that are dirty and cheap?
Yeah, dirty and cheap.
Okay. By the way, since Maxwell mentioned it,
Yeah.
you got him far in Shogun?
Oh no, man,
Bro.
no man.
Easily. It's crazy because this is your show right here. It has everything you love. The girl power. The girl power.
I know. I should. No, I watched the first episode and it was great. It was great. I had to skip the fish. They had eyes. I will tell you when I lived there, we used to take a break for lunch, and we'd go to they'd have the longer lunch hour in Spain. That was just the way things were, the siesta. But no one was napping, but everybody went out for long lunches. So we would go and get Menú del Dias. Like most restaurants around downtown had these Menú del Dias. and you'd go in and um, the weird thing, even though our Spanish was fine, but specific types of food, like specific types of fish or whatever, like you don't know the Spanish word for that. So a lot of times we'd look at these menus and you'd be like, I don't know what this is. And so a lot of times you're just kind of ordering randomly. And sometimes, you do really well. And sometimes like something would come out and it would be a big pot of tripe. And you're like, fuck. I wish I knew the word for tripe in Spanish before, or whatever. And I do remember one time this guy orders some fish, and remember him asking, he's like, what is this? What is this? And he's like, the waiter's like, it's fish. He's like, okay, it's good. He's like, okay. And it comes out, and it was something like sardines or smelt or something, some small, thin fish. But they were tangled together like Medusa's hair, like all rising up with their mouths open, like in screams like this on his plate. Like this plate of fish comes out, and he's just like, yeah, I can't eat this. Like it's just like I just like remember that moment. Like the fish of eyes. Yes, they always bring you out the whole fish. Yeah, and sometimes it's like a Medusa hair of like fish rising up screaming in your face.
Like gach in real life.
Yeah. Ibiza it is. I went to Ibiza once, but it was off season and no one was there. It was really quite quiet and boring. And it was like the only time where I was in Spain and like there's like an old lady on her balcony, like sweeping and singing. And it was like, la da da, ya da ya ya ya. It was out of like it was like out of folk tale. And I'm like, no, it was like really peaceful and quiet. And people are like, Ibiza? Really? It's like all the clubs were there and they were all closed. So, yeah. So, thank you for doing this every week. You guys are part of my weekly routine. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming in and listening to us just shoot the shit. It's always fun. And thank you, Carmine and Mira, for joining me.
Are you wrapping up?
I am wrapping it up. It's past midnight, and I should get to bed.
Yeah. No, this has been really, really great. And I wanted to say real quick, I have nothing against Portuguese people. I know very little about Portuguese people. I come from, Jewish immigrants from Russia, and Portuguese people are great. Actually, my mother's going to the I don't know how to pronounce
they
them.
weren't so great in the 15th century to the
Yeah,
Jews.
yeah, but the Russians were not so great more recently. So, but is it the Azores, Azure? I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese. But my mother's going to be going there. So Carmen, I'll let you know what she thinks of the Portuguese people out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you, Mira. You finished the Bravo. You got to the end.
Not quite, but I will report back when I have finished it.
Okay, because it's got an ending.
Yeah. I've got a few pages to go. So next time we chat, I will have a fully formed opinion about the ending.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you all for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time.